The 2021 season has arguably been the most unusual season in NBA history, between the games being played in empty arenas, players and coaches having to sit out because of contact tracing, or an unexpected All-Star weekend that not even the players were expecting. This season was like no other. However, the 2021 NBA season also provided us with some excellent stories and incredible performances from the league's best. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my picks for each regular season award.
Murray, inside, incredible!
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
They do have a timeout, decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown, bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
I wanted to start things off with the Coach of the Year, which in my opinion should be Tom Thibodeau. In 2020, New York went 21-45, as the team had a strange mix of players that didn't fit well together. They had young guys trying to establish themselves, veterans playing for their next contracts, and on top of that, they were an awful three-point shooting team, so it was hard for anyone to succeed with such limited spacing. Considering they had a pretty similar roster going into this season, the expectations were extremely low for the Knicks. However, Tom Thibodeau was able to coach this team to a 41-31 record, which was good for 4th in the East. All the way back in November, Thibodeau was pushing for the Knicks to make win-now moves, and in doing so, he gave this team a true direction. The reason why certain franchises are bad for so long is because they hope to hit on a few draft picks, not realizing that they are creating a losing culture in the process. The Knicks were a victim of this in 2020 because they didn't share a common goal of winning games. This year, Tibbs set a precedent that losing would be unacceptable, and it had a ripple effect on the entire organization. In addition to that, Thibodeau's defense-first mentality gave this team an identity. The year prior, New York finished 23rd in defensive rating, but this season they rose all the way up to 3rd. My runners-up for this award are Quinn Snyder and Monty Williams, as they've done great things in Utah and Phoenix respectively. But ultimately, I'm giving this award to Thibodeau because although Utah and Phoenix have been better than expected, nobody has overachieved more than the Knicks this year, and Tibbs is a big reason why. However, Thibodeau is not the only reason for the Knicks' success, which brings me to my winner of the Most Improved Player award, Julius Randle. The New York Knicks signed Randle in 2019 after striking out on Kyrie and KD, so there was pressure on him to play like an all-star. In his first year with New York, Randle put up nearly 20 points and 10 rebounds, but those numbers were not translating to wins. Randle was a ball stopper, he had tunnel vision, often missing an open man, and his poor outside shooting clogged lanes for his teammates. When the Knicks selected Obi Toppin in the 2020 draft, many people felt like Randle could be on the move, but he ended up silencing his critics by patching up the holes in his game. This season, Randle took major strides as a shooter, hitting 41.1% of his attempts from 3, 41.4% from 16 feet to the three-point line, and 43.4% from 10 to 16 feet. He also improved as a passer, nearly doubling his assist average from the year prior. His defense was great this year, and he embraced a leadership role with the team as well. While other candidates like Jeremy Grant and Michael Porter Jr. have added to their games, they didn't take nearly as big a leap as Randle did. For quite a while, Randle was viewed as an empty stats guy, but this year he put an end to that narrative. Going from an empty stats guy to someone that averages an efficient 24, 10, and 6 on a good team is an incredible jump, and for that reason, Julius Randle deserves to win Most Improved Player. Next up, I have Jordan Clarkson winning 6th Man of the Year. Clarkson has been the favorite for this award for the entire season, but he did leave the door open for guys like Joe Ingles, Derrick Rose, and Jalen Brunson with some inconsistent play to close out the season. Before the All-Star break, Clarkson was averaging an efficient 17.9 points per game, but after the break, Clarkson put up 18.9 points, but on much worse percentages. Even with that being the case, I don't think this drop in percentages tells the whole story. What Clarkson brought to this Jazz team was instant offense, and every time he checked into the game, he was an immediate threat to score. Even on a bad shooting night, Clarkson would go on these mini runs where he would hit a few quick shots, subsequently energizing the entire team. However, when he really had it going, Clarkson could explode for huge scoring nights off the bench. This season, Clarkson had 23 games of 20-plus points off the bench, as well as 2 40-point games. His scoring ability was invaluable to the Jazz success, but he was also a solid defender and pick-and-roll player as well. Overall, Jordan Clarkson provided energy on both ends of the floor, and he was a spark plug for a Jazz team that finished with the best record in the league this season. Moving on, I have Anthony Edwards winning Rookie of the Year. This award has sparked plenty of debate amongst fans as Anthony Edwards and LaMelo Ball are neck and neck in the race for this trophy. I think a lot of people discount Edwards because his team had a bad record, but that doesn't seem fair to me because Minnesota was injury plagued this year. Towns, Russell, and Beasley combined to miss 87 games, So as a result, Minnesota was putting out very young and inexperienced lineups early in the season. However, the Wolves went 17-19 after the All-Star break, and Edwards averaged 23.8 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 3.4 assists in this stretch, and he did so on solid efficiency. Similar to LaMelo, Edwards showed us that he could put up good numbers on a competitive team, so long as his team was somewhat healthy. While this all sounds nice, LaMelo advocates have argued that Melo was simply the better and more impactful player this year, and that his 21 missed games shouldn't outweigh that. This argument sounds good, but there is a hole in it. When LaMelo got injured back in March, he had only played 41 games, and he was initially expected to miss the rest of the season. At that point, many people began to concede that LaMelo probably wouldn't win the award. And though he returned from injury and played an additional 10 games, I think he hurt his case more than he helped it. In this span, Melo averaged 15.1 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 6.2 assists, but he did so on really poor efficiency, and on top of that, the Hornets went 3-7 after he returned. To sum it all up, Edwards and Ball each put up good stats. They show that they can both affect winning when given a competent roster, but Edwards was available to play every single night. If I were to build a team around one of these two, I would pick LaMelo because I saw how well he was playing before his injury, but as far as the Rookie of the Year award goes, Anthony Edwards deserves to win it in my eyes. Up next, I had Rudy Gobert as my Defensive Player of the Year. I know that this isn't the most exciting pick as he's won the award 2 out of the past 3 years, but considering how dominant he's been on defense this year, it would strip away the credibility of the award if you didn't give it to him. Bam Adebayo and Ben Simmons are my runners-up for this award, and while Gobert is my clear favorite, I feel compelled to debunk this notion that Simmons deserves it over him. In a recent interview, Simmons said that he is deserving of the Defensive Player of the Year because he defends all 5 positions while Gobert does not. Simmons is the more versatile defender, but being more versatile doesn't always mean that you're better at something. If you've watched these two play, you can see that Gobert and Simmons have different roles on defense. Gobert's role is to protect the paint and alter shots around the rim, whereas Simmons is asked to be more of a switchy defender that can also guard the opposing team's best perimeter player. However, Gobert's sheer presence on the court can completely disrupt a team's offense. Obviously, players don't want to go into the paint when he is there, but Gobert is also highly intelligent when defending the pick and roll, and although Gobert is not defending on the perimeter all game, he more than holds his own when he gets switched onto smaller, quicker players. In Simmons' case, his on-ball defense is great, but a team can always manipulate a switch or get the ball to someone else in order to avoid Simmons. On the other hand, teams have not been able to avoid Gobert this season, and they haven't been able to for years. In 2021, Rudy has a defensive rating of 100.9, whereas Simmons is at 106. When you compare their numbers with the defensive ratings of their teams, you can see that Gobert is making a larger impact. On top of that, the 76ers have a better defensive roster than the Jazz, so the fact that Rudy's presence alone makes Utah so elite defensively just goes to show how important he is. Obviously, guys like Bam and Simmons are incredible defenders too, but Gobert is most deserving of this award. Lastly, my pick for MVP is Nikola Jokic. In my opinion, Jokic is a pretty easy choice for this award because he meets every criterion for it. He played in every single game this season, he put up incredible numbers, his advanced stats were unbelievable, and Denver finished 3rd in the West despite all the injuries they dealt with. Jokic was truly the engine of this Nuggets team, as his unique passing ability frustrated defenses and got his teammates plenty of easy buckets. Even though we all think of him as a great passer, Jokic is Denver's most reliable scorer as well. On the year, Jokic averaged 26.4 points on great percentages, and he was able to score whenever the Nuggets needed it most. Jokic has been one of the most clutch players in the league over the past few seasons, and this year was no different. When we think of a player being clutch, we tend to focus on their ability to hit big shots, but Jokic makes all sorts of clutch plays. Whether the team needed him to grab a big rebound, set up a teammate with the pass, or make an important defensive play, Jokic could do it all when his team needed it most. In a Nuggets season that was filled with inconsistency and change, Jokic was one of the few constants for them, and he propelled them up near the top of the standings after a slow start. An MVP case can be made for a number of players such as Joel Embiid, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, or Giannis, but as I mentioned earlier, Jokic meets all the criteria for this award, whereas these other guys only fulfill most of it. Embiid was a dominant two-way player, but he missed 21 games this year, and while Curry might have played the best basketball of his career, the Warriors might not even make the playoffs. In Chris Paul's case, he had a major impact on winning, however his individual stats were not MVP-like. And lastly, Giannis put up great numbers, but Milwaukee went 40-21 with him in the lineup, which was a little underwhelming considering the way they dominated the past 2 regular seasons. That's gonna wrap it up for today's video. Let me know what you thought of my predictions in the comments below, and feel free to tell me who you have winning each award. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and with all of that being said, I'm out.